Ah, yes, Bloodgood. Classic Christian metal from the 80s. Founded by Michael Bloodgood, who is the bassist, so he put his name on the band. But Les Carlson singing. Legend. Well, legend in the Christian rock world, but not a legend in the secular world, but that's okay. I don't think he cares. Anyways, all right. Let's second. Good to see you all. Killing the beast, crushing his head. Religion and violence, yes? Almost seems like heavy metal and Christianity were made to go together, right? Because Christianity or metal is, at least 80s metal, is so like sadomasochistic. You know, they wear the sadomasochistic stuff, the studs and the leather jackets and this, you know, this I don't even know what to call it. The guys that wear it around their torsos and stuff like that. No, spikes. Okay. Well, there is a lot of violence in the Bible, so there's a lot to draw on, right? It's not all, you know, puppy dogs and peaches and cream and nice stuff like that, you know, walking with Jesus on the beach. There's, you know, the Lord is covered in blood up to his waist because he is trampling the nations in his rage. There's a heavy metal song in there somewhere, right, Mr. Saunders? No? All right. Moving on, Dr. Dunn. Let's get the brass tacks here. Stanley Milgram's Obedience to Authority study, 1963. Milgram was a psychologist, and he wanted to see what people could be told or made to do, who normally, one would think, they would not do to inflict pain on another human being, you know, needlessly, you know, just normal people usually are not going to needlessly inflict pain on somebody else. But what if they're told to do it? What would be the circumstances that they would do it? And how far would they go if told to do it? Because one of the famous arguments, that this came out in the Nuremberg trials, after World War II, where, I mean, some of the war crimes committed by the Nazis, the National Socialist members of the National Socialist Workers' Party, or I guess you should say the military branch of that, because it was a political party, but they were in control of the country, were considered so heinous, so awful, that, you know, they wanted to bring these people to trial and punish them. You know, beating Germany in the war wasn't good enough. Destroying most of Germany wasn't good enough. You know, having the victory. They had to have, you know, punishment for some of these people. For crimes against humanity. You know, this was a new idea, genocide. This is where they came up with the word genocide. There had been, you know, just like religion, you know, there have been populations of people wiped out before by other groups. The Germans did not invent it, nor did the Nazis. And it's not like it only happened to the Jews, people who are of Jewish descent. Talk to an Armenian, you know, or Ukrainian. Yeah, they know about genocide. But this seemed like a new thing. So they had the Nuremberg trials. And one of the arguments in the defense of the various people, the generals and the soldiers and stuff like that, the doctors and people who were brought in front of the tribunal, one of their arguments was, you know, I was told to do it. You know, I'm a soldier. I have to follow orders, don't I? You know, if I'm not a general, and a general gives me a command to do something, don't I have to follow it? Yes? No? What do you think? Huh? Sounds like that? Yeah. Isn't that how the military works? Huh? No. Hierarchy. Good, yeah. Or there's I think I know what you're going at. I think I do. Not structure. What am I looking for? There's a chain of Chain of command. Is that what it is? Yeah. So if someone higher up the chain of command than you tells you to do something, you got to do it. I mean, you don't have to do it, right? So if they're going to be court-martialed, and might get kicked out, or they might punish you in some way. But I mean, they say, you're going to go to this place and fight. You don't sit around with your group and take a vote on it, do you? Okay, General so-and-so wants us to go to this country to fight. Well, what do you guys and gals think? Raise your hands. Give me a show of hands. How many really want to go? And then we'll decide. No, that's insubordination. Well, it could be insurrection. It could be a crime according to the military code. They have a whole different legal system for the military. When you're in the military, under a different legal code than under the United States Constitution. Military Code of Justice. It's basically, the same as our, but there are significant differences. Like you can't sue, or at least you couldn't until, I think recently they changed the law a few years ago, but until you had no right, you gave away your rights to sue for negligence. Like, they gave you poor equipment or something. They gave you rifles that, I don't know, the bullet would jam in the cartridge and explode or something like that. I'd kill someone, Well, too bad. You can't sue anybody. You sign that right away. As soon as you took your oath to join the military, yes, you take your oath, the local recruiting office, off you go. So, I was only following orders. They told us that round up the Jews that we had in our prison camps. They probably wouldn't call them concentration camps, but the camps, we were told, start killing them and burning the bodies, burning the evidence, or burying the evidence, whatever. And so that's what we did, what we were supposed to do. We're not going to do this. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, right? Could you, Ms. Cook, have objected? Could you not liked it but still had to do it?
Just to military, you can do that.
You could go AWOL, yeah. You could surrender yourself. And where are you going to go, though? How do you do that without getting shot by the Allies or arrested and then executed by... Huh? Sneaky, okay. So you guys spend the rest of your life on the lam. Sneaking around. Not so easy to you, yes, Howerton?
What do you think?
What do I think?
What do you think? What's your opinion on the topic?
What is my opinion on the topic? Well, let's see. Gonna play football, maybe? Yes. You hit to me, and I'll hit back. Okay, I'll tell you what I think. What do I think? Well, I think it's a difficult issue because the people, it's easy to say, oh yeah, they're just a bunch of Nazis, so of course they're just like Satan in person, right? They're the devil. But our American soldiers did stuff that anyone else would say was a war crime too. It's just as bad, maybe, as trying to wipe out a whole population of people. 2 atomic bombs. We bombed the city of Dresden, if you live in Germany. Just bombed for no particular reason. It had no military purpose, no military strategic value, but we wanted to terrorize the Germans. We wanted to scare the heck out of them. So the Allies, us and the British and stuff, decided we were going to completely carpet bomb the whole city of Dresden, killing not just military, but anybody. Civilians, we don't care. Okay, all right. I understand that happens in war, right? So where was the trial for those people? Why wasn't President Harry S. Truman put in front of a tribunal for him giving the permission to drop 2 atomic bombs on Japanese people? Where's that tribunal?
I mean, I'm stuck there too. I can't really.
You can't figure it out, Ms. Howerton. I think you undersell yourself, Ms. Howerton. As you all do. You're thinking creatures. You're quite clever. All right? I've seen you on TikTok. Well, maybe not you actually on TikTok. But I've seen what your generation can do. Much of it is not very intelligent. At least on TikTok. No, you're smarter. I'm just making We invaded a country, right? A few years ago, 20 years ago, we invaded a country named Iraq that had done nothing to us and attacked us. Nothing. They did nothing to us. But they were ruled by a dictator, this man named Saddam Hussein, that our president at the time, George W. Bush, didn't like. Okay, and he wasn't a likable figure. I'm not defending him. I do know him personally, but I don't think he's a very nice guy. You know, the Iraqis were not mourning his loss when we toppled them. But yeah, I still remember it. I was sitting there one day, and George W. Bush, president, comes on, as the presidents do sometimes on national television, saying, I'm giving Saddam Hussein a few months to get out, stop being president of Iraq, dictator of Iraq. Otherwise, I'm sending the military in there. What? I still remember, I'm like, what's going on here? Where did this come from? And we did it. We weren't successful. Well, we were successful about getting rid of Saddam, but the Iraqis didn't like us any more than they liked Saddam. So they kicked us out eventually. But I would imagine it's still a better place than it was when Saddam was just a dictator. I hope it is. But we eventually caught Saddam Hussein. He was hiding. He was hiding somewhere, and they caught him, and they put him on trial and found him guilty and executed him. Okay. But what about the guy who gave the command to invade the country in the first place? All the Iraqis who were killed in the invasion. Just living their lives under this dictator. They didn't ask us to invade. Help them overthrow Saddam. And president just decided, I'm going in. Where's the tribunal for that? Would you have gone, Ms. Cook? Ms. Krauss, would you have gone if you were in the military? To invade Iraq? Huh?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna decide.
Well, I still thank you because I do appreciate the honesty. That's still fine. I don't know what I have to think about it myself. Obviously, I was not in the military for some obvious reasons. Too heavy. But I'm also a coward. I don't have that. I don't have the bravery that people have to doing it. But also, I wonder what would your moral sense be? Like, this country has not attacked us. They weren't planning to attack us. We can just invade a country, any country on the planet we want to, for what reason? Well, there were goals, huh? Does anyone know what the goals were? Why we wanted to?
Oh, didn't you say like weapons of mass destruction?
Oh yeah, the weapons of mass destruction. Yes. You remember that? That's where that came from. Weapons, it's like WMADs. Weapons, WMDs. Weapons of mass destruction. Yeah.
Like a nuke? Is that like a nuke?
I don't think they were saying nuclear weapons, but mainly it was biological weapons. Yeah, he had all sorts of biological weapons. But no, Saddam didn't have nuclear weapons. Otherwise, Saddam would probably still be there. Just like Kim Jong-un is, the president of North Korea and his father before him. Because they saw, I think, what happened in Iraq. Because President Bush kind of played his hand. He said there's an axis of evil. There's Iraq, there's Iran, there's North Korea. I don't know what the connection was between them. Didn't really seem to specify very much, but went after Iraq, and North Korea's like, we got to get nukes. They didn't have nuclear weapons, but they got them very quickly. Whether they've been working on them before, I don't know, but they certainly decided we need them. And same thing with Iran. Iran started a nuclear program, which we bombed a few months ago, but anyways, we'll see what happens with that. Anyways, yeah, weapons of mass destruction. Well, first they tried 9/11. You weren't alive then, but they first tried 9/11, that Saddam had something to do with the attacks on September 11th. No one was buying that. But they kept trying for a few months, and when they saw that wasn't going to fly, the story changed to, oh wait, remember way back when in the 90s, you of course also wouldn't remember this, but you can find it on YouTube. We had the first war with Iraq. Iraq invaded this little Middle Eastern country called Kuwait. You ever heard of Kuwait? No, one of the hottest places on the planet, but anyways, oil rich, Saddam wanted it, and invaded Kuwait. So a whole bunch of countries, including us, not just us, then had to invade Kuwait and invade Iraq to force Iraq out. And at that time, and that was the previous President Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, W's father, whom Saddam Hussein did try to assassinate him, but maybe that was the reason for the war, I don't know. But they never did topple Hussein. They just pushed the Iraqis out, and they decided not to go all the way to Baghdad, the capital, and topple Hussein. So he was still in power. So yeah, WMDs, the weapons of mass destruction, Mr. Grace. He still had them from that previous war. Well, he didn't have them because Dr. Dunn listens to NPR, National Public Radio. And I remember years before that, listening to NPR, they were interviewing the UN inspector who was going into Iraq. He said, no, they're gone. They're gone. They have no capabilities at all.
See it before after.
This was long before, actually. That's why when I was hearing about these weapons of mass destruction, I'm like, I have a memory of something. I remember this interview with a UN inspector who went all over Iraq, all the facilities. Well, maybe they were lying. Maybe they had them hidden. I don't know. He said that they dismantled the whole network. He didn't have nothing. But, okay. So we went in. Okay. And we never found any weapons of mass destruction. There's piles of biological weapons and stuff like that. Which, by the way, most of which we sold to him. Because he was at war with Iran, and Iran was our enemy at the time, back in the 80s. So Saddam was our best friend. We sold him tons of biological war weapons. Where's the tribunal for them? They were just following orders. So would I have gone? I don't know if I had the courage to join the military. Or would I have been content to be thrown in the brig, in a jail for several years, and then be dishonorably discharged because I wouldn't follow orders for what I thought was an unjust invasion? Just following orders. Was told to do it. All right. So Milgram wants to study this idea. What will people do? Will they do the most horrific things, even kill other people if someone tells them to do it? And why will they do it? Why will they do it? Yes, Mr. Melendez. Okay, so let's look at this video.
In a period from the early 60s to the early 70s, a group of social scientists conducted a series of experiments examining the nature of human behavior and its relationship to social conventions and situations.
This setting, there are a lot of things to be done to me that I wouldn't allow in any other context. Dentist is about to put an electric drill into my mouth. In this setting, I willingly expose my throat to a battle of the razor blade.
I don't think they allow barbers to do that anymore, do they?
Stanley Milgram Shapiro, one of the most influential social psychologists of the time, was particularly fascinated with the dangers of group behavior and blind obedience to authority.
What is there in human nature that allows an individual to act without any restraints whatsoever, so that he can act inhumanely, harshly, severely, and in no way limited by feelings of compassion or conscience? These are questions.
Well, he might be dead when the experiment requires it to continue on. 330 volts.
The experiments that Milgram and others conducted were controversial, and for ethical reasons may never be conducted again. Yet the results of those experiments remain groundbreaking, profoundly revealing about the tensions between the individual and society, and increasingly relevant to contemporary life. In 1962, Stanley Milgram shocked the world with his study on obedience. To test his theories, he invented an image that would become a window into human cruelty. In ascending order, a row of buttons marked the amount of voltage one person would inflict upon another. Milgram's original motive for the experiment was to understand the unthinkable, how the German people could permit the extermination of the Jews.
When I learned of incidents such as the massacre of millions of men, women, and children perpetrated by the Nazis in World War II, how is it possible, I asked myself, that ordinary people, who are courteous and decent in everyday life, can act callously, inhumanely, without any limitations of conscience? Now, there are some studies in my discipline, social psychology, that seem to provide a clue to this question. The problem I wanted to study was a little different, went a little bit further. It was the issue of authority. Under what conditions would a person obey authority who commanded actions that went against conscience? These are exactly the questions that I wanted to investigate at Yale University.
It is May 1962. An experiment being conducted in the Elegant Interaction Laboratory at Yale University. The subjects are 40 males between the ages of 20 and 50 residing in the greater New Haven area. Psychologists have some theories explain how people learn. One theory is that people learn things correctly whenever they get punished for making a mistake.
40 years later, Milgram's infamous experiment, obedience, is still taught in classrooms around the world.
You open those and tell me what's worth put. Confirm. All right, now the next thing we'll have to do is set the murder up so we can get some sort of punishment.
What inspired Milgram, I would say there were a number of factors. One of them is he was very ambitious. He wanted to make a mark in social psychology. And he wanted, as he wrote to one friend, he wanted to come up with the boldest experiment they could think of.
You want your right sleeve, great. This electrode is connected to the shock generator in the next room, and this electrode paste is to provide a good contact to avoid any blister or burn. So he did see it. Do you have any questions now before we go to the next room?
About 2 years ago, I was at the Veterans Hospital in West Bend. And while there, they detected a heart condition. Nothing serious, but as long as I'm having these shocks, how strong are they? How dangerous are they?
No, although they may be painful, they're not dangerous. Anything else?
Oh, no, that's not.
All right, Pete, would you take the test and we see it in front of the shock generator equipment in the next room?
But the experiment was real.
The victim was an accomplice of the experiment. The victim, according to plan, provided many wrong answers. His verbal response to the standardized mentation at each protest was coordinated to a particular voltage level on the shock generator.
Now, as teacher, you were seated in front of this impressive-looking instrument, the shock generator. Its essential feature is a line of switches that goes from 15 volts to 450 volts, and a set of verbal designations that goes from slight shock to moderate shock, strong shock, very strong shock, intense shock, extreme intensity shock, and finally XXX, danger severe shock. Your job, the experimenter explains to you, is a word pair test. If he gets each answer correctly, fine, you move on to the next pair. But if he makes a mistake, you are instructed to give him an electric shock, starting with 15 volts. And you increase the shock one step on each error.
Incorrect. You'll now get a shock of 105. Hard hit. Just how far can you go in this thing? As far as it's necessary. What do you mean as far as it's necessary?
Milgram was very much aware that obedience is a necessary ingredient for society to function, but he focused on the darker side of obedience.
Incorrect. 150 volts. Sad face. Exactly, essential to continue. You have no other choice. Only one choice. Number one choice is that what you want, if I tell you you think learn.
Now, this man makes disobedience seem a very rational and simple deed. Now, other subjects respond quite differently to the experimenter's authority.
Wrong. Hair. 75 volts. He's got volts. Please continue.
Some psychologists were troubled by the ethics of it. Many, if not most subjects, found it a highly stressful, conflicted experience. People are stammering, stuttering, laughing hysterically and inappropriately.
50 volts. Quick. Continue, please. Go on.
Clearly, when we see people went to the top of the shopboard, it wasn't like they were going blithely, sadistically. People went stop and go, stop and go. They were in a state of conflict, which was created a tremendous amount of stress. So that was the main critique.
Be at 3:30.
As his voice began to show increasing frustration, so did I. And I was really in a state of real conflict and agitation. One of Stanley Milgram's basic contributions was that you don't ask people what they would do given this hypothetical situation. You put them in the situation.
Wrong. Up to 180 volts. Please continue, teacher. 180 volts. Hey, stand up. I'm not going to
And according to Milgram, one of the things that's a prerequisite for carrying out acts that are evil is to shed responsibility from your shoulders and hand it over to the person in charge.
Hey, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens. Continue, please. I've been actually slow.
They didn't hold any gun to anybody's head. Just the fact that he conveyed a sense of authority. Roughly 60-65% of the people went all the way to the top of the shop board.
450 volts. That's it. Now continue using the last switch on the board, please, the 450 switch for each wrong answer. Continue. I'm not getting no answer. Don't the man's help mean anything? Whether the learner likes it or not. Well, he might be dead in there.
Milgram made the point, I think very effectively, that the Nazis were all a bunch of psychopaths at Tolson and Dachau at the death camp from the middle class in New Haven.
Who's actually pushing the switch? I was. But he kept insisting. I told him no, but he said it gotta keep going.
What kind of obedience would Milgram get today if he were to do the experiment today? Probably about the same. Why?
I don't know, I think people are just inherently obedient.
It just really shows like how far human beings will go to appease what they perceive to be an authority figure.
Milgram has identified one of the constants, one of the universals of social behavior. Readiness to obey authority cuts across time. It's a constant. The other outstanding and distinctive thing about the obedience experiment is how much it has and keeps on permeating contemporary culture and thought. It's still with us in a very, very important way.
Ah, come on. Oh, is that it? Oh, sorry. I think maybe I spliced together two different videos. Yeah, I think I found some footage from the actual experiment.
Actually, tame, wolf, bear, dog, cat. Wrong. Answer is bear, 240 volts. Actually, sweet, I do. No, you go back to the beginning of that page and go through it again until you learn them all correct. Oh, I'm not going to realize it. You mean I gotta keep going up with the scale? No, sir, he's all over there. I'm not your fault. The experiment requires. I know it does, but that man is tolerant of this stuff. As I said before, Otis Knox may be painful, but he's yelling. Start with blue, please, top of the page. Continue.
That's it. I guess I can only find the one. All right. Anyways. The dude. Dude signed up for it. You know, he probably signed a release. You know, so too bad, you know, if he's in pain. So what's the next one, doctor? You okay? Although I do like the fact, I find it interesting that psychologists found it an ethically troubling study. Yes, Ms. Park? Yes? But they'll still show it in their classes, right? It's like, you know, this is a really, don't do this to people. But, oh, let's watch the results in class. It's like, okay. So what happened? What did I take away from that? Well, I wrote it on the board there. 60 to 65% gave the highest shock, which they assumed, no one, I don't think anyone told them that it would kill the person, but they assumed that it would be very, very severe and it could injure the person, I would imagine. They had that assumption. And they still, the majority still did it. Way more than 50%, almost 65%. What do you think? They committed violence to a person they didn't even know. What do you think? What do you think? Yes.
You don't think that it should have been all men? You think it should have been like I think that there should have been women,
Like women getting the shocks?
like the teacher.
Oh.
How many, it was all from the ranges of 20.
Why do you think that? I mean, why do you think women should have been?
Well, I think it, like, just genetics, women and men have some different brain structures and ways of thinking about things, like biologically, about things different. And I think it may change that at the example of would lower that number.
Do you think a person's female would have been more likely or less likely to inflict it?
I think less likely.
You think so?
I think so. I wouldn't be able to do that.
You wouldn't?
I have not really known how to do that.
Do you think that the men who signed up for that, do you think if you'd asked them before that, like would you inflict
I just
unnecessary?
think women are like have more emotional, like thinking.
Can that be good or can that be bad though? What about, you know, you go after Mama Bear's cubs? No, I'm just saying, like you were all in school, some of you were in high school recently. I mean, the slides in the bottom of the old class. I tried to get it out. What happened if you did something wrong in school when your teachers are like, yeah, Johnny's not doing this in class? Did your parents defend you 100%? Or did your parents say, okay, yeah, I'll talk to him and make sure? So it's like, did they say, well, I'm teaching this a jerk?
No.
Okay. You have a child. Did you defend the child or no? Depends. Doesn't sound like my mom. You know, maybe later in the car, mom might turn to you and say, you know, why did you do that? But, you know, at least that's never, you know, taught high school. Twice. I hated it. Because I was always wrong. I had a degree in my field, but I was always a bumblehead. The kid was always right. And mom would tell me in no uncertain terms where I was wrong. So, I mean, females are more understanding? You think they wouldn't,
I just think that it would change the percentage, that's all.
okay.
Whether which way it
How
goes, I
so?
think it will be changed.
You think it would be different?
Yeah.
But you think that a female would be less? That's what your assumption is?
In this experiment, yeah, I think that's my personal opinion.
Okay, yeah, possible. Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. I was also thinking like, you might have been saying like, have the instructors, the people telling them to do it, have them be women. Since with all men, would they have resisted a woman, whereas with a man, they wouldn't? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that would have changed it too. So were these bad guys? Did they just get a crop of bad apples? 60 to 65% of whom were willing to inflict massive pain on somebody they didn't know, who did no wrong to them or to anybody, got a question wrong on a learning test, right, Ms. Haran? A learning test. And they were willing for that. It's not like the person harmed them and said, tried to kill their kids or something, or they're still willing to go all the way. So what happened? What kind of people were these? They must have been awful, right? Yeah.
I think they were good people. I think it was when we were in that situation, like the guy was saying, we were just conflicting. Like one part of himself was telling himself, like, no, I'm not gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna kill him. The other party was like, listen, I gotta do the experiment and the responsibility. Once he asked the question, like, well, who's responsible for him if he gets injured? He said, I'm responsible. Yeah, he literally went back to doing it for the switching. That bring it back there too.
Am I responsible? Like, am I going to get punished for this, or are you going to get punished?
That's basically what he was asking. The guy who was the teacher, the guy who was conducting the experiment, Stan, he was like, I'll be.
Okay. Maybe. Until someone does actually get hurt, then, there's the cover-up, right? I didn't tell him to give it to him that hard. Oh, we got you on tape, sir. Oh, I want a lawyer. Go ahead, sir.
I definitely agree. Because, since young, we were kind of taught to always follow authority in terms of, in the way of always listen to adults or always listen to your teacher because they know better. In the same way that person's like a doctor or seen as the role model, in our brains, from a young age, we still kind of taught to listen to the person who is higher in the hierarchy. So they're less likely to rebel because if the person is some random person on evil leveling, they probably be like, nah, you just somebody you don't know. And you wouldn't listen. But once it's a doctor, they're just like, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. But what about the list, though? I mean, it's the experiment wouldn't work if the guy didn't want to participate. He wouldn't do what he was supposed to do. I mean, as the guy in the lab coat pointed out to him, the experiment says, so he's just following the experiment too, right? I mean, it says you have to go to the next word, and which means if he gets it wrong, you have to go to the next level. So that's just how it works. So you said you would do the experiment.
Yeah, we're just a normal guy.
Huh?
He's a normal guy. Or we're all kind of taught that way. So
Okay, yeah, all right.
we're more successful to stuff like that.
Does the number surprise you as how it is?
Yeah, that's true. What would surprise you?
I guess not.
Why do you say that?
Well, I guess I'm more pessimistic. I'm not as optimistic. which means I don't usually, well, it makes me a depressive character, so I'm not the happiest person to be around. But I also, usually don't have my hopes dashed. I'm a big believer in original sin. Because I know what I struggle with. I'm not setting myself up as a paragon of virtue. I'm not saying that I'm not really. I hope I want to. But I hope I would have had the moral courage to, say I'm not going to. But think about it. They've already gotten you to accept the principle. Because that if you get a wrong answer in this experiment, the response will be pain. I'm going to hurt you. So they already got you, right? They already got you on board with the principle, right? To inflict pain on someone you don't know and has not done anything wrong to you, that you have no reason to harm, and they've already got you agreeing that you will already commit harm, right? No? You're not going to give them a lollipop, Mr. Lynch. Yeah. Okay, you get a lollipop for every right answer, and I withhold the lollipop if you get it wrong. No, they've already got them on board. What does that say about us? Forget about the 60% then. 100% of them were on board with that. I can potentially, and they knew that Ms. Krause, right? They saw the box, right? And they saw it go all the way up to this really strong shot. So they knew, even if the guy stops, okay, so he stops halfway. Go the whole way. Well, you knew it was there. So you might have.
They seem like the They seem like the.
And I know that's why
They seem like the whole.
Huh?
They seem whole electrical about everything before the experiment.
Yeah. If someone gives you a gun, you see the whole, you know what it can do. You know this contraption that they get is designed for one purpose only, to give a hurtful shock to the guy who gives the wrong answer. And all of them accepted that, thought that was okay.
I guess that explains the male brain.
The male brain?
I don't think any, women would line up to do this.
Okay.
Why? It's scientifically proven that frontal lobes don't develop until the age.
Okay. You said the frontal lobe. Yeah, which is where reasoning and stuff like that. But where's sympathy? Where's compassion found? Is it in the frontal lobe as well, or another part of the brain?
That's an open question for someone that definitely knows the answer.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I want to look into that. Yeah, it's an interesting point. What parts of the brain are developed? Don't ask. I know the amygdala, because it causes a lot of psychological problems. Usually if you have a psychological problem, it's always the amygdala.
Yeah, don't psychopaths have a smaller no amygdala at all, since they don't learn?
That's something to look up. Yeah, I might look that up, but I don't know. No, I don't know. Okay, well. These are some ideas, some reasons that it might be. Men are naturally more prone to violence. One would think.
Just look at power dynamics of them.
Ooh, power dynamics. Yes.
They had some type of power, I can put on this person. And they were validated by the doctor because the doctor would say, okay, you can do this. They went, oh, and then they did it.
Yeah. Because one or two of them seemed to kind of like it. They laughed at it and thought it was kind of funny, but they thought that was a defense mechanism. What if you really had someone there who was serious about it, oh yeah, really enjoying it? Then you might want to keep an eye on that one. All right, so I guess we could extrapolate that almost everybody, at least men, 100% of men are okay with the proposition of hurting someone needlessly, if I guess they're told to do so by an authority. But they won't necessarily kill them. Most of them will. Most of them apparently will kill a complete stranger for no particular reason, if told to do so. But a significant portion, 40% is not, and it's something to sneeze at, right, Ms. Jasmine? It's not something, that's something. 40% would not do that. So that's kind of good. That's kind of hopeful, right? Was there anything religious about this, Mr. Dobson? Probably. Where do you find the religion in this experiment?
I'm assuming you showed us the video.
I really shouldn't reveal how the sausage is made, Mr. Dobson, but yeah. There are reasons, you know. Didn't your teachers ever give you busy work in school? Is there anything, I thought you were going to say something like, because no one really said this, but maybe someone had a religious objection, right? Maybe someone could have had a religious objection, but no one brought up religion at all. At least I didn't notice anything. No one saying, yeah, but Jesus says, not to harm people. Jesus says to do this, or God, I wouldn't feel right with God or something. Or I just don't know, my conscience is telling me not to do. No one really said that. Huh?
The way he said it was kind of like he was on some type of guilt for it.
You feel right about it.
Maybe it's bonus of religion.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
What do you find?
I'm thinking where to go with it. Where else I might want to go with it. So yeah, there is a point, Mr. Dobson. The point is, well, where's the religion in all of this? What does this say about the human animal? Just simply a human being, excluding other human beings of the female persuasion. And I'm not, anyways. Yeah, but what does that say? And then bring it back to like the Nuremberg trials of how could people do? Well, they were in the military. How can people who join the military do what they do? They have to already accept in principle that they have to kill people somehow. They do have to blow stuff up and kill people. So they're already invested in the violence. They accept the violence.
Now, have you ever heard like a marksman or somebody talk about they first joined somebody in the military, they'll say, oh, I didn't. You never know the feeling until it happened. Sometimes they leave right after we kill somebody. After they kill somebody, that's it for them.
Really?
They don't want to be in the military. Maybe that's the same case with this. They didn't really grasp the whole concept before they did it. Once they start flipping the switches and they start hearing people screaming, not actually from it, but once they start hearing people screaming, they feel some type of way about it.
Okay. So I guess, yeah. See, I guess we can see how authority can come into play. We've got a person there, I guess they would assume the person had a degree in psychology. The person is in a lab coat. So you're going to presume that the person just didn't walk in off the street, and they paid $5 to the guy and said, hey, could you act like you really are a professor? Someone with some authority to run the thing. And so people did that. Does it matter whether they invoked God or God wants you to do this to this person? What if there was the change, okay? Maybe change the questions. Have you ever told a lie? Yes. Okay, shock him. Have you ever been with someone sexually you were not married to? Yes. Shock him. Interesting, you know? If you just change the questions to religious ones. Would it make any difference, though, Mr. Moon? Would it make any difference? What do you think? You don't know? I could think that maybe. I'm trying to see, I want to get your views on the matter, not just mine, Mr. Gaines. Yeah. Mr. Gaines. Yes.
I mean, the topic would change, but the concept would stay relatively the same.
You think so? You don't think it might change the relationship between the person giving the shocks and the person receiving them?
Maybe, maybe not.
How so? How do you think maybe it might change?
Maybe it might change because if there's some form of connection, then would that lead to a hesitation and then potentially not a shock because they don't feel looking for it?
Okay.
Because they're building a personal connection rather than just a quiz of right or wrong.
Okay. Is that a cat mouse or is that a mouse that's a cat?
It's capybara.
It's a what?
Capybara.
What's that?
A land sea creature.
Dog or something. Who is that? That's yours?
Just flames for a mouse right now. Like, why?
Who's flaming?
Why are you making fun of me?
Oh, I'm not. I think it's cute. No, I like it. What's that?
That's a capybara.
Oh, capybara. Who's that? Where are they? Oh, rainforest. So is that Brazil or someplace? Or?
They're like land, water, and
Oh, okay.
very it's cool.
Very hot. Oh, they're cute. All right. Yeah, so what if they were religious questions instead of just simple learning questions, you know? What's the answer to this? So the answer is blue. No, that's the wrong answer. Or it's the right answer, whatever. But there's more thing. Have you ever told a lie? Yes. Okay. Maybe with the religious, that moral element, or do you believe in God? No. No. Would that change it? The relationship then? Because, I mean, I'm thinking like, with just the learning experiment thing, yeah, it doesn't really matter, you know, it's just you're giving answers to what is this? It's blue. Oh, that's right, that's wrong, whatever. But you're not making a judgment on the person, necessarily. You're not saying, whoa, you're a bad man now because you got the answer wrong. But if the person reveals that I don't believe in God, or yeah, I do lie, or I have stolen, will that change the dynamic? Mr. Lynch.
Yeah.
How so, Mr. Lynch?
I don't know.
You don't know?
It just would.
Okay. In what way do you think? Let's just stay with it for a little bit. You don't know, but how do you think it might change?
A different type of scenarios I've found.
Okay. Do you think it might change how the person giving the shocks looks at the other person?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, not like that.
Not like what?
Not by like the looks.
Okay. Well, not looks, really, but you know, how they appraise the other person.
Yeah.
Value them. Like, would I be more likely to give a shock to someone that I thought was an adulterer, so I would not value that person maybe as much as another human life?
Yeah.
They can be done away with. I'm on to something. Well, I'm just wondering, why would if I'm onto something, or Why would if you change it to like moralistic questions rather than just simple learning questions about can you remember this list in this order? And then you gauge the person and you judge the person. And the person can't remember anymore than, huh?
If you change the questions to religious questions, it's not. It goes based off of how the other people, like how the person flipping the switch feels as well. Because what if they're not religious?
Yeah.
What if they ask them, do you believe in God? No. Well, that's alright with me. Right?
Yeah, so you wouldn't shock him. Yeah. But if you did believe in God, and what would it say if you did
Well,
decide?
I believe in God. I was just,
I know, I'm not putting anyone on the griddle, not interrogation or flaming. Yes, I'm just asking. But what would that say if like I were like, are you Catholic? No, I'm Lutheran. And I'm like, oh, okay, Lutheran's gonna shock me. What would that say?
that's saying that would be religious violence.
Oh, that would be religious violence. Interesting.
Because you're not the same denomination with Christian that I am. I shot you.
Do you think I might feel bad about doing it if I didn't do it? Theoretically, Ms. Krause, I'm not gonna harm you.
If you heard maybe. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know whatever Dr. Gunn.
But I could feel justified, right? If I think you're not part of the true faith or you don't believe rightly. I mean, I could change it to even politics, something like that, Are you Republican? Yes. Okay, I'll let you go on that. Did you vote for Donald Trump? Yes. Okay. And then justified too. How dare you vote for a fascist? Now I feel justified. I'm trying to, interesting, because I'm trying to see, what changed in my attitude then? Yeah.
I think if we change the questions, it'll definitely changes that.
But you don't think that the type of questions also?
No.
Yeah. If I said to someone, are you an Eagles? I'm Eagles fan. Are you an Eagles fan? And the person like, no, I follow something. Okay. I don't know that many fans, well, I've had some students who are kind of passionate, but passionate as I might be about, say, a football team, I don't think I'm really, although, soccer riots, not, we don't have that so much here, but, I know when I was over in Europe and stuff like that, it was not an uncommon thing to have riots where the different bands, and that's, when you watch, if you watch the Premier League, like the English Premier League, on television, like I watch Crystal Palace or something, they keep the supporters separated. You can see that they have the cops there between the supporters. Because they don't want any problems. And there are still problems. People throw money, try to throw money or things that hit people, and they'll make obscene gestures at each other and chant. So they don't have the riots like they did in the old days. What's it about sports that makes people do that? Interesting. All right, Ms. Howerton. Yes, well, no, okay, you're okay, Ms. Howerton. Mr. Who have I talked? Oh, Mr. Rand. No, you've spoken to, yes. Ms. Rogers. I haven't, Ms. Rogers. Yes, uh-oh. Rue the day when I learn your name is Miss Krause. Mr. Henry. I'll come for you later, Mr. Henry. But Bach and Warren study. Did I put that on the end? I think it's on the PowerPoint. Slideshow. Current slide. Okay, so that's a picture of that. Bach and Warren study, religious belief as a factor in obedience to destructive commands. Okay. So these two guys, David Bach and Neil Clark Warren, of Fuller Theological Seminary, which is an evangelical seminary, so a more conservative Christian seminary, decided they wanted to take something like Milgram's experiment and apply it to a religious question, precisely a religious question, because Milgram wasn't concerned about that. Milgram, as you know, is concerned about the Nazis and the Holocaust, and why would, assume, I know you can't say that the Nazis weren't monsters. I'm not saying that they were good people, but I mean, a lot of people who were going to church or would say that they were ethical people were on board, or at least okay with annihilating groups of people. Why would they accept that? So in 1972, Bach and Warren, their own version of this, 1972, they modified it to analyze the effects of religious motivations. Now, their hypothesis, their assumption was that people who are like more moderate or liberal in their religious beliefs would be more likely to disobey the commands from an authority figure. They'd be more likely to rebel or question an authority figure. People who were not extreme, people who are liberal, moderate, would just say moderate, progressive, would be more likely to be less violent. They would be more likely to challenge an authority figure telling them to do something violent. But people who you might consider extremists, true believers, radicalized, now we say nowadays, conservative in their beliefs, or even non-religious people, might be more prone to going along with what an authority figure would tell them to do. They wouldn't think about it. It'd just be like, I'm told to do X, so I have to do X. So that was their working hypothesis, and they published their results. What is this? Review of Religious Research, which I have a copy of. I don't think I required it for a reading because it's kind of very, has a lot of statistical stuff, and you don't understand statistics and stuff like that, then it's going to be all Greek to you, as it is to me. I don't understand statistics. But I understand the results, I understand what they came to. But anyway, so I just show it to you. I didn't have you read it, or ask you to read it. But no, they found the opposite of what their hypothesis was. They found that in reproducing this type of experiment, and of course, they gave questionnaires to the people involved to try and gauge their certain inventories to determine whether they would be classified as more religious progressive, or religious conservative, stuff like that. And they found actually the opposite. The ones that you would consider extremists or conservatives were more likely to resist, to be more resistant than the moderate or liberal ones. Than doing what, question, because you usually, I do too, you see, the bumper sticker, question authority, and then someone comes along and spray paints Y on the car, question authority, But that didn't seem to be the result. People who are, I don't know, I know I've known conservative people and stuff like that. Some people might say that's what I am. I find them more contrarian. So I would have expected more not following of authority, because they're more contrarian. And my view of how I see people that I consider more liberal and progressive, and in some ways some people might say I am liberal and progressive, but not that they're followers, but that, they want everyone to be on the same page. They like movements. They like to create movements, where you all get together and you plan and then you do stuff. Even if it's against the man, whoever the man is, Could be anything. It could be ICE, it could be police, it could be whatever, corporations, anything. But to have a movement, everyone has to kind of do what they're told. You have to be on the same page. So it's like, I don't know many, you got your Antifa friends. But, you know, you kind of like show up in your SUV and they're like, Bob, you're a polluter? Or, you know, they see you going to McDonald's and getting, you know, a hamburger and it's like, oh, they're eating meat? Do you know how much rainforest they cut down? Do you know what they do to the animals? You're out of the group. I don't know. That's my perception. I could be totally wrong about it. But anyways, that's what they found. They found that the people that you would think stereotypically would be more likely to follow authority figures like conservatives were not likely. They were likely to resist, actually, whereas liberal progressives more likely to follow. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. It's just there. You know, you may now you've had their data, and then you got to figure out what the data means. I don't know, personally. Here it is. I guess I could ask and throw it out there as a question, but I think a bunch of crickets have registered for my class. No. Where are we? What is violence? Uh-oh. Maybe I shouldn't broach that subject. What is violence? There it is. Wow, we're on to this already? Uh-oh. Trying to find some other things to talk about.
What's the context?
I think that's the Ukrainian parliament, and they're having some kind of disagreement in the parliament.
Nelson, in the middle of the
Yeah.
not even a full Nelson. Like it's the
Hey, it's happened in our Congress too.
love to see.
It's happened before. I forget. I know it was in the 1800s. I forget who did it. I know it was a senator from the South. I think it was pre-Civil War, antebellum. I forget which senator it was. Maybe it was John Calhoun. That's the name that pops into my head. But some other senator insulted him or did something he didn't like, and he beat him to a pulp with his cane. Savagely, right in the Senate, in front of everybody. And nothing happened. The guy was never censured, nothing. It was a gentleman's disagreement. Did something that pissed him, offended his honor as a senator of the United States. So he beat him senseless. So it's happened with us too. We're not immune. But what is violence? Violence seems to be universal, Miss Park. It seems to be a cosmic phenomenon even, right? Aggression. I'll get that in a moment. I mean, the universe is violent. The universe emerges out of violence. Various bodies hitting into each other, stars exploding into flames and igniting, okay? Planets crashing into each other and forming new planets. Even our own planet, There are times when our whole planet was just a big ball of fire, molten rock or volcanoes. Violence. So there just seems to be a cosmic phenomenon. Forget about just human activity or our activity. People and animals show aggression towards each other. Animals attack and kill each other. Frequently, it seems, if the Discovery Channel shows are accurate. I don't know. I haven't tracked down any lions or anything to see if they're killing things, but they seem to be. And you know what? The lions don't seem to care. So it's there, right? Violence is there, I guess. So why shouldn't it be amongst people? We're animals. We're part of this violent universe, aren't we? Is it a violent universe, do you think?
What's your definition of violence?
Mr. Ruddle.
Well, that's the important question.
I see someone who's going to get a master's degree. All right, well, start talking about what violence is. Let's start with aggression. What is aggression? Violence at its base is a form of aggression. A forceful action. Something forceful that dominates or masters something else. It exerts its control, you could say, its authority over something. So as I said, like astronomical bodies crash into each other all the time. You know, various asteroids and stuff, they smash into each other, they knock each other around in the asteroid belt. Others explode. Stars eventually will collapse and explode once they run out of all their energy. Not all of them. Some of them are too small to do that, but some have enough energy or mass that they do. Some things are destructive. They seem to destroy other stuff. Black holes, you know, black holes they suck in any matter and stuff, even light that's around them, and to only God knows where. Who knows where it's going in the black hole. One day we'll send something down it to see what happens to it. But nevertheless, it's totally, you can see that we have pictures we've seen with our telescopes, other black holes and other galaxies that are consuming also other planets and stars and stuff like that. Destroying them, they're ripping them apart. So it's exerting force on this thing, dominating it. Not allowing it to be what it is, just a star being a star. No, it's this black holes nearby. I'm ripping you apart, baby. I'm taking all your energy. So aggression. Ms. Ruddle, at two, Mr. Ruddle. Okay, Mr. Ruddle, I got you. I'll end here and see you guys next week. You're welcome, sir. Have a good day. Have a good day, Mr. Fitch. Good day, miss. Good day, miss. What? No, Ms. Durant. I remember Ms. Durant. I got you. Thank you, Mr. Lynch. You too. Yes. Have a good day, miss, sir. Hey, sir. Have a good day, sir. Good day, miss. Have a good day, Mr. Breesy. Good day, Ms. Ying. Turn this off.